Radical.
Now here's something you might not expect on the old Radical Rick channel. Brought to you by the Beach Boys' Greatest Hits, CD now available at my store on the weekends at the flea market. It's kind of funny because the Beach Boys, you think, probably are like the whitest group of all time as I talk about this. This is going to be a mixture of talking about the WNBA and white privilege. And in the background, I'll explain in a moment what you're seeing, which is a video loop over and over again of what I'm about to talk about, which is silly to say because I'm going to talk about that right now. What's seen in the background is what I feel is probably the female version of Draymond Green, or a little Draymond Green in planning. You know, Draymond Green plays for the Golden State Warriors, basically a hitman for the Golden State Warriors, done everything from choking people to body slamming them to kicking them in the nuts. You know, Draymond has a lot of flagrant fouls in his NBA career. But I think it's a little bit shocking when people see this happen between women. And there's this one player, her name's in the title. I don't know her name. I know about some of the WNBA players. I know about the me-bound chick, Angel Reese Cup. And I know about Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark because they're very prominent and they're talked about a whole lot. Specifically, Caitlin Clark is talked about a whole lot. They get a lot of press. And what you see in the background is a very hard foul, actual flagrant foul, from this one player onto Sophie Cunningham, who was on the same team with Caitlin Clark. So that was a flagrant foul. Clearly a flagrant 2 foul, because there's a flagrant foul, then there's basically trying to injure somebody on purpose. And that is pretty much what that is. At no point did you see a attempt to even look at the ball or to actually go for the ball to make a, basketball play. She's clotheslining from the back, Sophie Cunningham, but it's not just a clothesline, it's a dragging clothesline, meaning she's following through to pull her down, and she could have hit her head, got a concussion, could have broke her neck, could have done anything. That's pretty wild, right? So that's really not the shocking part. It gets more shocking. After that, it was called a flagrant 2, which it obviously should be by the text rulebook in basketball, NBA, WNBA should be called a flagrant 2. But when it's announced, she holds her mouth open and, the player that committed the crime on the court holds her mouth open like, what? What? Like Brian from Family Guy. What? What? A flagrant 2? I didn't do anything, right? Instead of just acknowledging, yeah, like even Draymond, when he does something, he does some dirt, he'll nod and say, yeah, I did that shit, right? But it gets even crazier than that, because after she's ejected from the game, she gets on her Twitter, social media, whatever the hell it is, and she types 2 words: white privilege. White privilege. For a definition of white privilege, Google says, white privilege refers to the unearned systematic social, cultural, and economic advantages that white people automatically experience in a society simply because of their race. These benefits often function as a social default, providing freedom from racial profiling, lower institutional barriers, and regular cultural representation without requiring conscious awareness from those who have them. So we would like to think, we white people would like to think that there's no white privilege. But I'll tell you, from an experience of being white, there is a little bit of white privilege. There is. Sometimes you get a little easier time getting a job or getting a loan, or not being profiled when you go into a store to look around when you're alone, especially if you wear like a nice golf polo, right? And it's unfair. It is unfair. I'm not going to say there's no such thing as white privilege. Okay? That being said, it is absolutely fucking insane for this thug fucking bitch who talked about in a moment, I have her statement where she talked about how she graduated from Stanford, okay? I didn't know Stanford let thug bitches in there. But this fucking thug bitch, amongst reasonable players that actually want to play the game of basketball, this female fucking Draymond Green has no right to say white privilege, insinuating, without saying it essentially, that she got the flagrant 2, not because she committed a crime on the court by nearly decapitating Sophie Cunningham on purpose, but because Sophie Cunningham is white. And obviously, because she gets that white privilege, the black person, Dejani Carrington, is having to deal with that white privilege. That systematic white privilege that helps Sophie Cunningham. Nah, bitch, you tried to take her head off, so that's why your bitch ass got ejected from the fucking game. Okay? Now, the weird thing is, she has a response to this. Oh, it gets even better. She spoke out, and after her shock surprise at getting the, flagrant 2, and after posting white privilege, obviously directed at one Sophie Cunningham, she said, "I've never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege." Huh. The weird thing is, though, she typed white privilege, but she never technically said white privilege because of the foul. She just happened to do it right after that shit happened. She said, "Try exercising your critical thinking skills. I know you studied psych. Furthermore, I'm the last thing from ignorant or asinine when it comes to speaking on white privilege. Do your research on that one. I actually went to school, one of the top universities I might add, to educate myself on this exact subject. I would never use that term as a rhetorical weapon, knowing the historical and social weight it holds without having the proper evidence to substantiate it." Yeah, some nice fancy words there from somebody that graduated. But the problem is, all I see, right, is somebody that clearly has a jealousy towards white WNBA players. Now, what do I base that on? Some research I've done on this person for years and years? No. Simple. I look at her fucking blonde wig. She's got a goddamn blonde wig on. So obviously, she has some jealousy towards white people. Obviously, because it's right there. Why not a purple wig? Why not a red wig? No, it has to be a blonde wig. A bright fucking blonde wig. To look whiter. That's what it is. All right? It goes both ways, people. Goes both ways. There's a lot of white people that listen to rap music. What's up? What's up? Word. What's up, homie? What's word? Like the guy from Malibu's Most Wanted. There's white people that try to be something that they're not. And there's people like this Dejani that's trying to be white. Trying to, I don't know. It's just, you can see it is what I'm saying. It goes both ways. You know people right now. You might have friends that are trying to be something that they're not. Not to say there might be some people that's raised on 8 Mile that's actually some real life white M&Ms out there. But most of them it's just melted M&Ms. It's not real M&Ms. And there might be some Tiger Woods out there. Or, that dude from DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Milton, what's his name? No, Carlton. It's not unusual to be loved by, there's some people that's actually, it's not really a white-black thing as much as it is a social thing. It's like where you were born. I had a friend that once told me, people focus on the whole black-white thing, but it's really rich and poor. The world is separated in rich and poor, privileged and unprivileged. And when it comes to white privilege, the irony here, one thing I'll leave here is, it seems like in media, a lot of times there's actually black privilege. Black privilege. You ever heard about that? Well, it's the fact that you have the woman coach of the team. Believe it or not, she wasn't fully sticking up for her player that was attacked on the court. No, she was just saying, well, Dejani, she plays hard, and I'm sure she didn't mean to do that. Like, are you fucking blind, bitch? Anyone that sees that video that's playing behind me, And you've seen it probably now 500 times in a loop. You can see the wind-up. You can see the clothesline. It looks like a WWE maneuver. Clearly, it was meant to be a clothesline, to severely injure Sophie Cunningham. That's what it's meant to be. This person also, it's not a new thing. The same person, I think, tried to gouge the owl. It was an owl from Caitlyn. Tried to gouge the, trying to make a foul, then actually poked her in the eye. And then trying to drag a woman's hair, pull her hair and everything. Which is one downside of being on the WNBA. If you got long hair, yeah, bitch is going to get angry with you and drag it, right? But no, the coach actually tried to stick up for her. And even when the response, I don't know the exact response, when Caitlyn in July was not punched in the throat, but like somebody was leaning down and they just leaned their fist into her throat. She was trying to defend the person doing it. I'm sure they didn't mean to. But if it's a black person doing it to a white person, these white coaches, they're very, very careful. They're walking on fucking eggshells. Because there's such a thing in the media. There's black privilege. There's LGBT, LB, XYZ. There's that privilege. So, yeah, I admit there is white privilege, but in the media and in the news and everything, and in this kind of shit, and especially the WNBA and NBA, there's also a slant. I mean, just listen to fucking Stephen A. Smith. I never got to talk about it, but the new team, he talked about the Lakers team. One last thing, I promise. The Lakers team he talked about after they lost LeBron and they retooled. They got Austin Reeves and then Luka and then that one tall center from the Jazz. I forget his name. But he says something like, these three white guys ain't going to win a ring. Like, why you got to throw that shit in there? Oh, like Larry Bird couldn't win a ring? Like there's not great white players in the history of the NBA? So that's just an asinine fucking comment right there. So I think Stephen A. Smith needs to be called out. In fact, he has a YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you have to be a member to comment on his videos, but I might go to Stephen A. Smith's channel. And he probably won't see the comment, but I might comment that he's a racist motherfucker. So there's a lot of people in the media, especially sports media, that are all for black privilege, right? So I think this blonde bitch has some payback coming. Hey, Sophie Cunningham, hey, there might be some retaliation. At least in anything, here's one thing. It makes the WNBA more exciting, you might say, if a fight breaks out, because clearly a lot of people aren't tuning into the WNBA to see all these little girls make layups and, try to dribble the ball, and some of them are okay, but it's like a Riri version, like a junior version of the NBA, basically. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Rolled into all this kind of WNBA, white privilege. Like I said, it's a different kind of upload on the Radical Rick channel, but next up, we're back to something more traditional and familiar here. We're going to be talking about two people and the madness of the flea market.